Hi, Management Information Systems, Chapter 1, An Introduction to Information Systems and Organizations. Let's see, so we'll get started here. I'm going to create probably 3 parts for Chapter 1. The first part, principles and learning objectives really of this whole chapter. Knowing the potential impact of information systems and having the ability to put this knowledge to work can result in a successful personal career, organizations that can reach their goals, and a society with a higher quality of life. With a higher quality of life, think about it. Over the last 50 years, especially 60 years probably, since the 1950s, the quality of life that we've had has greatly improved. Part of it due to a variety of reasons. TV, the stereos, CDs, MP3s, medical services, and a lot of the medical services, the improvement there and that quality of life has been through advances in technology. And not just advances in technology itself, but that relates directly to advances in how the information system works and how information is moved around from one place to another. So it's important to us for a successful personal career and organizations that reach their goals to speak to that. The information systems are used to really create competitive advantage, and competitive advantage puts you essentially at advantage over your competitors. If you're at an advantage, you can make more money, and bottom line, you can be successful and they won't be. Now, that can be competitive advantage can be created through greater efficiencies. That'll take less resources to make the same amount of products, or maybe to make more products in the same amount of time. So it could just be an efficiency issue. But organizations can use information systems to reach those career goals, or to reach those business goals. Now, why learn about information systems and organizations? Well, like, who doesn't use an information system of some kind? Even a mom and pop shop using pen and paper, that's an information system, and they're using databases. But everybody uses information systems, and it's a part of everyday life. Now, what is an information system? Well, as we can see here, an information system is a set of interrelated elements, different pieces that go together. You collect data. There's my mouse. You manipulate data. You store data. You disseminate data and information, and when you disseminate that data, what are you doing? You're probably going to find marketing trends. You're going to figure out your bottom line. You're going to do cost-benefit analysis. You're going to disseminate that data, or for instance, those sales that you have made, and figure out who your target markets are, and maybe target more marketing towards those particular markets. Provide a corrective reaction to meet an objective. So, and that may go, a great example is going towards efficiency. So if you find that your business and your manufacturing process, for instance, isn't efficient enough, you can see that and be able to correct that, create greater efficiencies. Therefore, it may lower your bottom line. Your bottom line as far as costs are concerned, cost of production are concerned, maybe cost of marketing are concerned. And businesses use information systems to increase revenues and reduce costs. Both of those are true. And really, if you think about it, if you simply reduce costs, that will increase revenues. If you create greater efficiencies so that you can do more with less, that creates revenues. So that statement's almost a little misleading. Businesses use information systems to increase revenues and reduce costs. Really, they use them to increase revenues through a variety of strategies, and cost reduction is one of those. Now, data, information, and knowledge. So data is really raw facts, just the raw stuff. Alphanumeric data, image data, audio data, video. With the image, a great example of that is NASA. So NASA houses millions probably, hundreds of thousands of images out there in their databases. Of course, those are space-based sorts of images, but it's a database nonetheless. Alphanumeric data, those are numbers, letters, other characters. Your credit card companies, as a good example, Amazon, as an example, they keep a ton of that just regular data out there. There's just that regular data out there that has all of your information within it. Now, and I'm using information and data not synonymously, but in a similar sort of way. Oh, if we go to audio data, remember the old Napster with the MP3s? That's a great example of audio data. Let's see, and video is YouTube. Video data is YouTube. Now, this mouse is jumping around and disappearing on me on screen, so I'm having to move it a little bit to get it back on screen. Now, we have information. The next item is information. And information is a collection of facts organized in such a way that they have value beyond the facts themselves. And those basic sets of data put together creates information. My address, for instance, my name and address. Okay, so my name, first name, Sean, last name, Scott, those are separate pieces of data. But together, it provides a name. My address is at 4195 Highway 284. Each one of those pieces separately is data, but you put those together and it starts to create a form of information. And then in Townsend and my zip and all of that, so now you put all those pieces together, those pieces of data together, and you come up with information. The same is true with your class schedule. Data would simply be CSCI 240, BMIS 270. But you start putting that information together with your name, your classes, your set of classes, your transcript from this semester, your transcript and that same information set from last semester, and pretty soon you start building a very large set of information about you. So, and the second item says the information is one of an organization's most valuable resources. Absolutely. Without information, and we're in the information age. We used to be in a manufacturing age, but now we're in an information age. The more information that businesses hold, you can sell that information. You have addresses, for instance, with which to market to send marketing information to. So you can do a lot with simply information, and it is the most valuable resource for organizations. We don't want to confuse it with data. Now, processes is a set of logically related tasks. This is part of the reading in your textbook. It's sort of an aside or ancillary to what we're talking about with data and information. But a process, again, is a set of logically related tasks. And, HR processes such as payroll, taxes, Social Security, all of those kinds of things are examples of processes. Now, characteristics of information. So information, first of all, needs to be accessible. What does that mean? That means that you, as a student, need to be able to access your transcript or your course information right now. That might be timely, actually, but accessible, that you need to be able to access or get to that information. Accurate. Now, this is where relational databases have really improved information. The old traditional file system sorts of or single file databases used throughout the 60s and 70s and some into the 80s. It contained duplicate sets of information. So your HR database would contain your address. Well, as a student, your financial aid database would contain your address as well. Because those were two separate databases, they had to be updated and information had to be input separately. Now that creates problems. What kind of problems? Well, say you have two different people entering the data and one simply doesn't enter the data accurately. One mistypes your name, one mistypes your address. What happens in the end? Your financial aid refund check doesn't get to you, so that information needs to be accurate. Complete. The data needs to be complete. Just think about your address, your school records. They need to be complete in order for you to go to school and to complete school and for your classes to be audited and successfully audited and for you to graduate. Economical. So information should also be relatively economical to produce. So if you have an information system that's really, really expensive, it almost is not beneficial in any way, shape, or form because it simply costs too much to produce that information. Flexible, again, an example is a relational database. We'll learn more about that in Chapter 3 and also in your CSCI 240 databases course. The nature of a relational database is such that you can pull all kinds of information out of it. You can mix and match data. You can pull names out with classes. You can pull names out with maybe sets of classes or financial aid information or HR information. The information, next time, information has to be relevant. Relevant information is important to the decision maker. Okay, so going back to a student database, relevant means how many classes are you folks enrolled in? How many students do I have in BMIS 270? Do we need a second class or not? Because we have so many students enrolled. So that kind of information is relevant to a decision maker, and that being to the university or to Helena College. Information needs to be reliable, secure. Oh, security is a big deal, isn't it? How many times have you seen or heard about, especially with credit card companies, getting hacked? So it is a huge thing, and people pay a lot of money to make sure data is secure. Simple is a gimme, as in timely. Again, timely, it's going back to the example with pulling students, information about students who are in specific classes. We probably make those decisions on a day-by-day basis as the semester nears. Do we want to run a second class? Do we have enough to even run the first class? So that information needs to be very timely. It needs to be up to date. And when you're running information through a database or into a database, and you're using really what ends up being an online transaction processing system, and that updates all your information instantaneously. That's what credit card companies use. So information needs to be timely and verifiable. Finally, we have input, processing, output, and feedback. Input is the activity of gathering and capturing raw data. When you go to register for classes, you're inputting data. Processing, converting that data into useful outputs. Lists, that's going to get your lists, that's going to get your transcripts, your semester course lists. The output, production of useful information, usually in the form of documents, so you print that list. And then feedback, information from the system that is used to make changes to input or processing activities. So I guess I would say for feedback, if you have courses that are conflicting when they're scheduled, that you get that feedback and you can make changes based upon that. Now, the next part is part 2. This will conclude the part 1 video for Chapter 1, Management Information Systems.